morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We made it to the house of the Lord one more time. And all of us are in our camo gear because we're in the army of the Lord and we're ready to fight whatever it is we need to fight.
Amen.
We're going to get our orders from our commander, Jesus, and we're going to keep on marching.
All right now.
All right. So today we're going to continue on the book of Ruth. And like I said, you guys, this is my favorite book in the Bible. It is a love story from the beginning to the end. It shows love for Naomi and Ruth. It shows love for Boaz and Ruth. So I have really enjoyed this story. We've been talking about the whole unit so far about women of faith. It started out talking about the creation of woman. Then we went to Deborah and Barak and how Deborah was Barak's rock and helped him go on the journey that he was supposed to be on. And then we talked about Ruth and Naomi and how they came to be so close. Ruth, Naomi, and her daughter-in-law Orpah lost their husband. So they were women out in the world on their own, but thank God for his love and protection. And here we are. Last week we talked when Ruth actually met Boaz, and this is the end of the chapters. And we're going to be talking about Ruth and Boaz's marriage today. So a great love story all the way through. And today's lesson is going to be coming from Ruth, the 4th chapter, verses 1 through 10. And today's lesson, I got the pages up. I usually have a pen to mark my pages. All right. So today's aim, the facts of the lesson is to learn how Boaz took over the task of the family redeemer when the first man would not do the job. Boaz came in and did the job. The principle is to show that God requires obedience from the heart, not merely the sense of duty. And we're going to apply this by letting someone know that sometimes what is required of us may go beyond what seems possible, but that we should step forward in obedience to do whatever it is that he has put in our hearts to do. We have to be obedient. Right. So, like I said, I'm going to read to you what this introduction says. This is life is full of rules, duties, obligations, but we should not assume that we have met God's standard when we conform to the bare minimum of these requirements. Certain situations require more of us, and the difficulty of those situations does not excuse us from doing what is right. Think of the young husband who finds out a week after getting married that his wife has cancer. Or think of the person who buys a home only to find out that he has been cheated and the home doesn't have enough value he thought it had. Or think of Joseph in the Bible who found out his wife to be was pregnant. There are and were some tough choices to make each of these situations. As Christians, we are called to obey God's will even when it seems more than we can handle. In our lesson this week, we learn about Boaz, who not only redeemed Naomi's property, but he married Ruth. All right. So once again, I said we're coming from Ruth, the 4th chapter, verses 1 through 10, and I will read that for your hearing right now. It says, Then went Boaz up to the gate and set him down there. And behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, Ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, Sit ye down here. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, Buy it before the inheritance, and before the elders of the people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I after thee. And he said, I'll redeem it. Then Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy also Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar mine own inheritance. Redeem thou right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was a manner in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changes, for to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So drew off his shoe. And Boaz said unto the elders, and unto the people, ye are witnesses this day, that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilion's and Marlin's, and the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among the brethren, and from the gate of his place. Ye are witnesses this day. We are witnesses this day. Amen. All right. The book of Acts describes beautiful situations, and the multitude of them that believe were one heart and one soul. Neither said any of them that art of the thing which he possesseth was his own, but they had all things in common. Neither was there any among them that lacked. For as many as were possessors of the land or house sold them, and bought the prices of the things that were sold, and laid down at the apostles' feet, and distribution was made unto every man according to his need. What a wonderful example of believers caring for one another. Some had more material goods than others. Some apparently were very poor. Those with plenty made certain that those that little had enough. What made this even better was that this was voluntary sharing, not something commanded by the leaders of the church. God put it in the hearts of his people to care for one another. It was a living demonstration of God's love for his children, who should have for each other, as Boaz had for Ruth. So we are charged to love one another. We're charged to take care of one another. Some of us have a lot. And in this country, those who have a lot want to pay the least. We got the 1%ers who don't want to pay their share because they feel that somebody wants to take more for them. However, those who make the least amount of money get taxed the most. And we're actually supposed to be giving to those who don't have the things that we have. We're supposed to be able to commune. If you need, I got. If you got, I need. If you're gonna give it to me, and that's how we're supposed to live. But of course, we know that in 2024 that we're living in bizarro world.
How we used to live.
How we used to live. I grew up in a country town, and everybody on the street was your mom.
Yep.
You can go to anybody on the street. If you were hungry, you can just walk in somebody's house. Auntie such and such, because everybody was your auntie and your uncle.
Yep.
That's right.
Auntie such and such, I'm hungry. And guess what? Most of the time, the older women, they had some chicken or something already on the stove. So when the kids came in, you got something to give them. And that was just customary. People took care of each other in those days. So here we are in the book of Ruth, and we're going to be talking about how a kinsman redeemer will come along. And of course, we talked in previous chapters that Naomi and Ruth came back to Bethlehem all by themselves. They didn't have sons, they didn't have husbands. They were all by themselves, and they were trying their best to make a living. And luckily, Ruth had the heart of obedience. She listened to Naomi. She loved Naomi. And Naomi said, you know what? You need to go out into the fields. And guess what? I know a man by the name of Boaz. And he is a nice man and a goodly man. And he will let you go out into his field with the gleaners. And that's what I want you to do. And so she did. And of course, like we said before, she was not used to doing any manual labor. She was a woman from Moab, and she was well taken care of, but now she's a gleaner. Get what you can get when you can get it. However, we said also that she was favored. Boaz saw her and provided for her and protected her. And we start this story where they left a little bit off. Let me give you a little bit between the last lesson and this lesson. So Boaz has been making provisions for Ruth. He's been making sure that nobody messes with her. It has been noticed. Naomi has noticed it. Once again, Naomi has given Ruth some advice. She says, you know what? I know you like him. You've seen the kindness that he has. You've talked to me about this kindness that he has. I want you to do this. Excuse me. I want you to do this. She said, when he has made himself merry with much wine and get ready to lay down, what I want you to do is just go to him. And I just want you to uncover his feet and lay there at his feet. And if he accepts you, then you know he accepts you. And if he doesn't, you know he's rebuking you. So she was obedient to him, and she was obedient to Naomi and did exactly what she said. So when he had left the feast, had been happy and merry, he went to lay himself down. Along comes Ruth. She comes along. She uncovers his feet and lays there in humility. Sometimes we gotta be humble. And Boaz accepted this, and he's like, you know what? I knew she liked me. I liked her too. And so we start this story. He immediately got himself in gear. He did not take time to tarry. He went ahead and got things going, and that's what I love. Hey, because we said already that he was older than she was. So he might have felt a little bit of haste because I'm already old. I need to be able to do some things. Because if I'm going to redeem her, a part of being the redeemer was to produce. So, hey, he made no bones about it. Let's go ahead and get haste. All right. So verse number 1. So he went up to the gate and he sat down. And behold, the kinsman came. So here we go. The person that was in line before Boaz comes along and he says, you know what? There he is. Let me have a conversation with you. Just sit down for a while and we can talk. And so he came and he sat down. And it says not only that he sat down, it says he took 10 men of elders to the city and said, sit down here. And they sat down. So there was an important part. They started talking about up to the gate. And in these days, business was transacted at the gate of the city. You had men that would just gather to talk, like my granddaddy and his friends get up in the morning times and go to the store and they just talk. And you had a lot of men that would do that. You had men that would transact the business. They were selling things and they were buying things all at the gate. There were disputes that were being settled at the gate. A lot of times the kings would come down and they would rule at the gate. The judges would come down and they judge at the gate. And here we go. Boaz is at the gate and he's trying to take care of this business of Ruth. So he got not only the kinsman, he has 10 witnesses. And it doesn't just say he got 10 people, it says he got 10 elders. Meaning those were the older men in the community. Those were the men that were respected. Those were the men that were the leaders of the community. He got 10 of them, not just one or two. And that says something about Boaz. It says that he was well respected enough for 10 other elders to say, you know what, we'll be witnesses to what you got going on. So that's another check for Boaz, that he was a goodly man and he was respected. And it says so, verse 3, and he said unto the kinsman Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, sell the parcel of land which was our brother Elimelech. And I thought to advertise it to thee, saying, buy it before an inheritance. So he's saying, you know what? Naomi is selling her land. It belonged to Elimelech. I know that you're next in line. You're a closer kin to me. So I just want to let you know what's going on, because it's your right to be able to do it. So I wanted to let you know so that you can buy it before anybody else does. And he says, if thou wilt redeem it, go ahead, you do it. But if thou won't redeem it, go ahead and tell me right now so that I'll know and I'll be able to redeem it for you. And because I come after you. So I'm giving you the opportunity. I'm being in line. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, being obedient to the law. Because the Levitical law says that if there is a woman who does not have a son, when her husband dies, they need to take her in, because it was a form of welfare, just like it talked in the introduction. Some have more, some have least. It was a part of their basically welfare plan, and to keep the family name going, I need somebody else in the family to take me on, because I'm childless, I'm husbandless. So here we go. He's saying, you know, you're closer to this than I am. I want to give you the opportunity to be able to redeem Elimelech's land and be able to keep his name going. And I don't think the kinsman, realized. And another thing that I found out, that kinsman and redeemer in the Greek mean the exact same thing. So they needed to be able to make this land whole. And so Boaz says, won't you make the land whole? Won't you go ahead and take this? I know that you're in line. Go ahead and take this land, make it whole. But the person who was first in line, I don't think he thought about what all would come with redeeming the land. Because at first he said that, yeah, I will. I'll take it. I'll do it. Verse 5, then Boaz, what day thou buyest the field in the land of Naomi, thou must buy it. Also Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. Then, and the kinsman said, I can't redeem it for me. I will mar my own inheritance. You go ahead and redeem it. So I'm imagining that when the kinsman, he said yes, he's thinking about, okay, I'll be able to get more land, I'll be able to get more crops, I'll be able to bring in more money. And it doesn't say whether he was married or not. He could have, because they were older, he could have been looking at Naomi and say, you know what, this land come with Naomi. Yeah, I'll redeem it, no problem. This is just my speculation, and some other theologians say the same thing, but I don't know whether he was married or not. It just says he would mar his own inheritance. So he says, no, I'm sorry. It come with this woman. She's not even from here. She's one of these foreign women. I don't know where she came from. I don't know what she did. I don't want her. I don't want her, because guess what? One thing that he should have realized, that he wouldn't have gotten Naomi, because the law was, if you didn't have any sons, then you would need to be redeemed. Guess what? She had sons and she had a husband. She had 2 sons that died. So the one who didn't have any children was Ruth. She was the one who really needed to be redeemed. That was how the family name was going to carry on. So, no, I don't want this woman. I don't want this land. I don't want this woman. You do whatever it is that you want to do. You can redeem it for yourself. Verse 7. Now it was the manner in former times in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing, for to confirm all things. A man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was the testimony in Israel. And this scripture reads this way because this is being told after the fact. This is not happening they're not writing this book and the time that it happened after the fact, and they're writing and they're letting you know this was a custom. This is how it had to be. And they would exchange shoes. And it seems like a lot of things were done by shoes and feet. In Genesis, it talked about the snake that he would be at her heels. She would crush his head. It talks about putting enemies under your feet. Talking about your enemies being your footstool. So there are a lot of things that's concerning feet, and they are exchanging of their shoe to say that, okay, this deal is done. And I can imagine at this point, the man, he thought that he had the opportunity to get all the lemon lace land. He thought that he would have all this opportunity to gain money. And I'm pretty sure along with having more and more land came more and more stature in the community. Just like Boaz, he had a lot of land, he had a lot of stature. And I can imagine when he said, dang, I don't get to have this, he took that shoe off, had it. Threw that shoe and exchanged it. I don't know what kind of exchange it was. Probably I doggone near hit you in your head and walked away. But here we go. We exchanged the shoe. We got all the elders here as a witness. We got all. I'm pretty sure at this point when they were in the middle negotiating, because that's basically what it was, and Boaz pulled his ace out the hole and like, hey, Ruth, come along with it. And he's like, no, you win. You got that book. You ran a 10. So here we are. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna go on about my business. I'm leaving. It's all yours. You can have it. I don't want it. And so, therefore, the kinsman said to Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. And Boaz said unto the elders, unto all the people, ye are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilon and Malon's of the hand of Naomi. And I'm sure he felt so good in the inside because he had already been watching Ruth. He had already been admiring her, especially when he found out that she was not even from this country. However, she loved her mother-in-law enough to cleave to her, enough to say, you know what, wherever you're going, I'm going. All of your people are my people. And especially the God that you serve, I'm going to serve this God too, because I see the walk that you've walked. Do people see the walk that you're walking? Enough to want to follow you. Enough to say, you know what? I don't know about what God she's serving, but I know the God she's serving has to be great. Because not only is she praying, she's depending on him. She's relying on him. Even though things may not seem as if they are going well, she still prayed. She still believed in God. Although she was bitter, she said, don't even call me Naomi anymore, because Naomi meant sweet and pleasant. She said, don't even call me Naomi anymore. Call me Mara, because that's bitter. I've lost my husband. I've lost my children. I've lost my way of being. I'm out here trying to take care of myself. But all in all, she never gave up hope. She continued to pray. She continued to rely on, because I'm pretty sure when he does something for you, this is not the first time, unless you a baby, this is not the first time that he's done anything for you. This is not the first time. So each and everything that we get into, God provides for us. Even if we get into something that we don't supposed to be in, he provides a way of escape for us. And because of that, we owe him praise. We owe him to be able to take those experiences and tell somebody else. I tell y'all all the time, a lot of the things that we've gone through are not for us at all. It's for somebody else. It's for you to have a lesson to give to somebody else. And somebody may be watching you to see how you handle the things that are happening to you. And they say, you know what? Val has been going through it, but every time I see her, she got a smile on her face. She does not look like any of this stuff that's happening to her. Although I know very well she should be hurt, but she's not showing it. You know what? If she can believe in God that much, I can too. People are watching you that you have no idea that's watching. Children are watching us and we have no idea. So you need to be living your life in a way that a child can look up to you and say, you know what? I see Mr. John. I want to be just like him. What kind of examples are we putting out for people to be just like? Because you don't want a child to say, oh, I want to be just like Sally Sue. But Sally Sue is slipping and dipping all over town. Baby, you don't want to be like Miss Sally. You want to be somebody that people can look up to. You want to be that person who's the rock. You want to be that person who your rock is God.
Amen.
Because we can't do anything without him. We may want to think that we can go around and do whatever he wants to do, and he'll let you for a little while. And then all of a sudden, you know what? Come on, little girl. Come on, little boy. Do what I told you to do. And so, although she felt bad, Naomi felt bad. She was not happy at all with the circumstances. She had to walk about 50 miles on her feet, which took her 7 days to go. And she got here. All of her stuff was not how it was when she left. She had to try to make a new home for herself, but yet she still depended. She still prayed. She still was obedient. And thank God that Ruth was obedient to Naomi. Because Naomi had the main line on. Lord, tell her, let me tell you what I need. Let me tell you what I want. And Naomi had wisdom. And luckily, Ruth listened to all that wisdom. Because that led to her to Boaz. That led Boaz to see her and to want her. And he did it decently and in order. He didn't do anything in the dark. It says that when he figured out that she really did like him, he immediately went to the elders. I need to go in front of the gate. We need to take care of this now. This was not a long engagement. This was, you know what? I've been liking this girl all along, and now I know that she likes me. Let's take care of this. So he went to the gate. I bet he was waiting on the close kinsman to come along. Ooh, I think he walks through here at 9 o'clock in the morning. He was there at 7 o'clock. He was there early enough to gather up 10 men. All right, he'll be walking through here. He'll be here to buy some eggs in a minute. So when he came, he said, "Hey, ho!" He said, "Ho, such a one. You come on, sit down. Talk to me about this, because we gotta handle some business right now." God can work just that fast.
Yeah.
Turn the situation around where you're on the outside looking in, and he'll pull you on the inside. But here you go. When you're the inside looking out, you need to be just like the introduction of this lesson. You need to be able to pull somebody else up when you're on the inside looking out.
That's right.
Because guess what? You ain't always been on the inside.
That's right.
You haven't always been on the inside. So you need to take pity on somebody else who is not on the inside right now and bring them in the inside. Bring them to the things that you have. Let them know the God that you serve. Don't be ashamed. Because if you be ashamed of him, he's going to be ashamed of you later. So would you rather be ashamed these little bitty short years and have him have an eternity where you turn away from him? Or will you accept him now and then you can have the reward in paradise? I want my big reward. I want my big reward. I want my little room in the mansion. I want to be able to go and see him and listen to him in person.
All right.
I know he has a nice milky voice. I know Jesus is handsome. I know he is. I want to be able to be in the number. I want to be able to sit at his feet and listen to his stories, listen to what he said. And I bet he's going to say, you know what? I told you this was going to happen, that was going to happen, this was going to happen. And guess what it did? And everything along your life that I told you that was going to happen, happened for a reason.
All right.
You did what I said do. You were obedient to my word. Now, I got a place for you. And I'll make you rule over many. I got a place just for you. So I like this story because it's a story of obedience. It's a story of being decent and in order. I think a lot of this story is really being decent and in order. He did not say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do this because I like her. She likes me. We're just going to go ahead and marry each other. He was obedient to the law of the land. And he did it decently and in order. He says, you know what? I'm going to sit down with my brother, have a conversation with him. I'm going to make sure that this conversation is witnessed. Because Val and I can have a conversation and come to an agreement. And I said, well, it didn't happen. And she said, well, yes, it did. If we didn't have any witnesses, it's just your word against my word. And nothing actually happened.
That's right.
That's why you got witnesses to say, this is what's going on. He agreed to this. He agreed to this. This is what it was. Decent and in order. We got to live our lives decently and in order. And I know Boaz had to have been so relieved when the kinsman said, you know what, I just can't do this. I'm pretty sure at the beginning, because this was a negotiation, so I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the negotiation, he had his stone face on. He had his poker face on. And as soon as he said, you know what, I can't do it, I said, yes. Yes, it's mine. It's all mine now. And so, what did he do? He had the witnesses. He says, I'll buy it. Last verse says, moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Malone, I have purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead among his inheritance, that the name of the dead not be cut off from among his brethren. And from the gate his place, ye are witnesses this day. This is happening. I got the okay. I am on the roll. And guess what happened after this? He took Naomi and made her his bride. Hastily made her his bride. It was not a long engagement. Nowadays, people stay engaged 5 years and then they get married. This happened. Boom, 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 boom. And out of this beautiful love story came a beautiful baby boy named Obed. And along with this baby boy came the redemption of Naomi's love. A redemption story for Naomi because she had lost. She lost her children. And I can imagine for mothers who have sons, there's a special connection between mothers with their sons. And she lost both of hers. And she was bitter about it. But now she has this grandson. And most people treat their grandchildren better than they treat the children. And so this was her baby. Naomi raised Obed. This was her baby. I can imagine she's like, okay, y'all do what you're going to do. Give me that baby and y'all go about your business. And it talks tenderly about the love that Ruth had for Obed. And that was her redemption story. And that in itself is a beautiful thing, that she has gone from having a life where her name was sweetness, going through so many tests and trials that it beat her down. However, the story didn't stop at the beating down. The story didn't stop at the dark times. she was obedient to God. She was a wise woman, and she was able to impress upon Ruth to be a wise woman as well. And at the end of the day, all that she had gone through, all of the bitter times that she had, was redeemed with this child. That's a beautiful thing. And she loved this child. And this child was in the lineage of Jesus. Obed was Jesse's father. And of course we know that Jesse was David's father. And prophecy says that the Messiah will come out of the house of David. And so Ruth, the outsider, became an insider into the lineage of Jesus. Tell me God doesn't work. And he doesn't necessarily work on an A, B, C, D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because guess what? His time is not our time. The way that we think is not the way that he thinks. He can take somebody that's a pauper and make him a king. He can take a king and make him a pauper. It's all his will. And the will that he had for Ruth, the outsider, to put her in the inside of the lineage of God, should be a testament to you that although you may be down, you may be on the outside now, you may feel like God has given up on you, you may feel like you've given up on God, but God, thankfully that when we put him to the side, he don't put us to the side. We can have our own redemption story. We can have our own sweetness in our life, but what we have to make sure that we're doing is that we're putting God first. That we're making sure that we're not leaving him out of our plans. That we're not making plans that he has not approved. We need to make sure that we're going to the throne, because there is peace at the throne. There's joy at the throne. There's redemption at the throne. Everything that we need, everything that we want, our heart's desires, we can go to the throne and petition to God for those things. And if it be in his will, you will have it. If it be in his will. If you do it decently and in order, I'm sure that he will have mercy on you. So if you're down and you're out right now, don't count yourself out. Count yourself in waiting. You be a lady or a gentleman in waiting. And there's peace in waiting. Although we don't like to wait. I am one of those people. I don't like to wait. I want it now. I wanted it yesterday. And those of you who work on demanding jobs, you know your boss. He wanted it yesterday. But guess what? Patience is key. Patience. Ruth had patience. She leaned on the Lord. Naomi was the one that she was able to look up to for guidance. Who are you looking to for guidance? Who are you guiding is a better question. Who are you living your life in a way that you can be a guider for someone else? I want to give you some of the practical points of this lesson. Number one, we should do our work for God in a way that is proper and timely. Don't tarry about God's business. 2, honesty should be the rule. Honesty should be the rule of every Christian representation. Honesty, which in 2024 we lack a lot of that. We got a lot of cunning that's going on, not honest. People are saying that they're one thing and are totally something different. You can be anything you want to be on social media. You can be 2 cats and a pig if you want to. Number 3, wise is the person who listens carefully before speaking. Like Pastor always says, his uncles or granddad says, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You need to listen twice as much as you speak. Listen carefully before speaking. 4, caring for others is seldom without cost of oneself. Think about Naomi, how she put herself to the side. She put all of her woes to the side to make sure that her daughter-in-law was taken care of. Number 5, the wise person gathers witnesses to all important public decisions. Don't make contracts in the dark, because at that point it's just he said, she said. Heard the word against my word. Make sure that you have witnesses. Number 6, the Christian should do his godly duty without reservation. Just like Ruth and Boaz made sure that Ruth was redeemed. That was Levitical law for him to do so. And he did it in a godly manner. All right, so I pray that you guys got something out of this lesson today. I hope that it sparked something in your heart to make you say, you know what, if I don't have a piece of this God right now, I want a piece of this God that they're serving at Brewer Heights. I urge you to come and have services with us. We are at 4425 Brewer Road in Montgomery, Alabama, on the west side of Montgomery, Alabama. And they said nothing good comes from the west side, but guess what? We're preaching the word right here on the west side. Amen. This is a good place. This is fertile ground for you to come. We welcome you here. We had a young man, an older man came out of nowhere last week to worship with us. We would love for the same thing for you. We loved on him just as much as he came and loved on us. Also, won't you partner with us? We want you to partner with us, not just with your treasure, but also with your time. But if you are so inclined to give of your treasure, we would welcome that. You can give at $Brewer Heights via Cash App. You can always send us anything that you want in the mail. If you have prayer requests, go ahead and go to Brewer Heights Ministry. Put your prayer requests in. If you need a Bible, we'll make sure that you have a Bible. We want to make sure that we're building the kingdom of God. That's what we're all about here. We're a community church, and we're trying to do our best to build the kingdom of God. And we want you to come and partner with us on that mission. I pray that you come back at our 11 o'clock service, where I will be giving the word, and we'll take it a little bit higher on the next service. I pray that you have a wonderful day, and if not, come back and see us at 9 o'clock on next week. We bid you Godspeed. We love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
All right, ma'am.
Amen.